Today is May 22nd, 2003.
22nd.
22nd.
Yeah, tomorrow's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. You got the right day. Well, we're sitting here with Bernie Helman. Is it Bernard by birth?
Bernard, yeah.
Okay. And one thing, Bernie, I want to clear up first of all, before we go into anything with you. We've been talking about the Brown Street Temple, but I didn't mention where exactly that was. And we have to clarify that the Brown Street Temple sat on the site where the present Burger King is in East Stroudsburg, near Kmart. And there was some contention about where Bridge Street was, but we won't get into that. But just so we know what we're talking about, when we refer to the Brown Street Temple, it's in East Stroudsburg and the present site of that Burger King.
Sort of catty corner for where the armory was.
Oh, there was an armory there too? I didn't know.
Well, the National Guard. It's catty corner from that on
oh, yes, that's right.
On the corner was Lipfelt had a little store there. There was a little store in the corner of Brown Street, and I forget what that street goes down towards Kmart now.
Yeah, that's Lincoln.
Lipfelt used to live there, and then there was a temple in the middle of the hill on the right.
But it faced the street, did it not?
It faced the street.
It faced the street. There is a temple in Newport, Rhode Island that sits at an angle to the street because they wanted to sit exactly facing eastward toward Jerusalem.
No, this was facing.
But this was facing the street. Okay. Let me just clarify. Your parents. What were your parents' names?
My parents were both from Hungary.
Oh, they were.
They came over when they were. I think my mother was about 5. My father was about 7 or 8.
But they were married, obviously, in this country.
They are from Hungary.
Do you know
where?
They
were promised to each other, I think, in Hungary.
Is that right?
And Mom went to Allentown, and Dad went to Scranton, and then they got together and they got married. And let's see, Dad was born in 1899, and he passed away. Let's see, he was 87 years old. He passed away in
1986.
He was 88 years old. He passed away in 1987.
86 is the date that's on the plaque.
Well, he's 86 then.
So your father's name was
87 years old when he passed away.
Your father's name was Louis Helman.
Louis, yeah.
Okay, and he's often referred to as Doc. Is that correct?
Well,
now tell us why he's called Doc.
I heard a couple stories. One of them was when he was in Scranton and he was a teenager. They worked at a burlesque show in Scranton. And during the intermission, they sold popcorn and Cracker Jacks, and they had all the young kids that were selling that stuff in a little skit that went on there, and they were supposed to yell "duck," and he was yelling "Doc." Oh. And that's one. And then another one I heard that his mother in Hungary was a midwife, and they called her Doc, and then they called him Doc.
But I heard one story that he was selling sodas that had to call Doc or something like that.
He opened up a bottling when he moved to Stroudsburg in 1927. I was 6 months old at the time, so I don't remember.
You were born in
He worked for Crystal Soda Water, and he moved to Stroudsburg, and he opened up a bottling works here, Stroudsburg Bottling, and they called it Doc's Beverages. Ah. So that's where
that comes from. Okay. So you were born in Scranton, and your mother's name was Dorothy?
Dorothy, yes.
Okay. And your wife presently is Betty Helman?
Yeah.
And you have 2 children, and what are their names?
My daughter just turned 45, Debbie, and she turned 45 the 3rd of May, and my son turned 42 in the 7th of November.
What's his name?
Timothy.
Okay. Were they ever participants in Temple Israel as children?
Well, Timmy was bar mitzvah here.
Girls weren't bas mitzvah in that time.
No, they weren't bar mitzvah girls.
They didn't bother with that. We've gone through that one. Now, how long would you say that you were a member of Temple Israel? You said that your father came here in 1927.
Well, I grew up, I went to Hebrew school. I remember going to Hebrew school, and Kurt Weimer was a rabbi and teacher, and he bar mitzvahed me.
He trained you for your bar mitzvah?
1940, I think it was. bar mitzvah at the temple on Brown Street.
Were there a lot of people there?
Yeah,
I mean, was it a big social affair?
well, we had it in the temple, in the
Yeah.
basement of the temple. They had the party and that, but nothing like they have now.
No,
They
obviously
spend
not.
thousands of dollars. Nobody had any money.
But you had family who came from Scranton?
I have four sisters, 3 older ones and 1 younger one. My one sister called me her birthday present because her birthday is the same day as mine.
Oh, really?
So she's 4 years older than
Oh,
me.
that's interesting. So you went to Hebrew school in the Brown Street Temple, and Kurt Weimer was your teacher. I'm going to talk to Kurt. I believe he came here around 1937, but do you remember any rabbi prior to him?
Yeah, I remember when we were kids, the rabbis all used to stay at Washington Street at Sadie Nadelman.
Mm-hmm.
It was a private home. And I remember one Rabbi Rickel. We used to call him Rabbi Pickle when we were kids. And
But the name was Rickel with an R?
He used to be late on Saturday or Sunday when we had Hebrew school. We'd have to go over and wake him up once in a while.
Where did he live?
He lived at Sadie Nadelman's
house.
Oh,
in her house, okay.
Washington Street. I think my dad hired Kurt Weimer for a rabbi. I think it was about $15 a month or something like that. He was just a young fella then.
He had come from Germany.
He came from Germany. And
go ahead.
Well, he used to talk about Germany, because he got out of there just before the war.
What did you learn? What were you taught in Hebrew school? What were some of the areas was it just Hebrew, or were you doing anything else?
We had Hebrew school. We had a Boy Scout troop, I remember.
As part of the temple?
Yeah, temple spot. It was Troop 84.
Oh.
It was, we used to meet in the temple.
Who were some of the people who were in that?
Morris Wilkins.
Morris Wilkins.
Morris Wilkins. Elliot, his brother Elliot. Davy was a little too young.
Davy Wilkins.
Itch Summers. Lester Brown. Jerry Sperling. Let's see, who else? I'm trying to think. It was, I said Itch Summers. It was just...
Do you remember who the leader was?
Yeah, Lou Summers used to be the leader. Lou, and I think Herman Shear. Because I remember we had a baseball team too. We played Blue Mountain Camp, and then the Boy Scout, we had a cheer that Lou Summers had made up. What was it? A.B. Jacob, Isaac Sam. We are the boys that don't eat ham. Give us a yell. Give us a yell. Give us a big extensive yell.
That's terrific. Oh, that's great.
And they would get us going learning how to tie knots and stuff, and have the older ones teaching us, and then they would play cards.
Did the Boy Scouts do anything in the way of anything related to Judaism, or was it just being a Boy Scout?
No, it was just a troop. That, I remember we'd go on a hike, and then I remember one time we was on a hike. We had to make bread to pass one of the tests, and everybody burned everything they had to, and the leaders were supposed to sample it, but they wouldn't touch it.
Well, what about BBYO? Were you a participant in that, or did that come later?
It was B'nai B'rith started, I think, a few years later. I don't think they.
Were you a member of B'nai B'rith?
I've always been a member of it.
How about your father?
My father was a charter member of B'nai B'rith.
When did you, in your own home, was it a kosher home, for example? Did you observe Pesach? Did you have Seder?
My mother and father were very... My father was the shamus here for many years at the temple.
What did he do?
Well, one of the main... running the services, he would get everything set up, and the ritual committee, he was on there. And then he would go out and beg for money from the members to pay their dues, and so that the shul would keep going.
Did he have a hard time raising money?
Oh, they were tough years back in the early 40s or 30s.
30s.
And he used to, I remember they shut the electric off. They didn't have enough money to pay the electric bill, and he put some pennies or something inside.
He brought his own fuses.
He knew what he was doing, and he had, so he had electricity. But it was tough years for...
Do you remember about how many people were involved with the temple? Members?
It wasn't a big I would say probably about active members, there might have been 20.
Huh.
But there was like 35, 40 that would come on the holidays.
How about your mom? Was she involved in any way?
Mom was in Hadassah
Sister-
when they first started that.
And there
The
was a sisterhood?
Yeah.
And what did they do for the temple?
I really don't remember. They'd have their meetings, and she'd come home sometimes with a headache.
But I think they were fundraisers
Yeah,
for
they
the
were
temple. They
fundraising.
did a lot for that.
And then we used to have in Hebrew school, I remember we'd have the different plays at Purim. And
Who helped you put the plays on? Was it just Kurt?
the
Or,
rabbi and the kids would,
and were there any parents involved with helping out with such things?
I don't remember, I don't think so.
So Kurt taught you how to read Hebrew, I guess?
Oh, yeah.
And
Kurt
did he teach you Chumash, reading the Seder, the Parshas from the week, and studying that? Or did you go as far as Talmud?
No, well, he taught me my bar mitzvah. I used to have to go, I think, 3 or 4 nights after school. I lived on First Street those years
In East Stroudsburg.
in Stroudsburg, and used to have
Was
to
that Stroudsburg?
in Stroudsburg and then walk over to the temple. We used to walk Friday nights. My dad and I were always walking the temple on Friday nights and on the high holidays. And
You had to cross the interstate bridge?
yeah, they had a big iron bridge.
An iron bridge before the flood of
Yeah,
55, I think. So you learned to read Hebrew from Kurt.
Yeah.
Has it stayed with you?
Pardon?
Has it stayed with you?
I forgot quite a bit of it, but I can still read some Hebrew.
But you can say the blessings if you're called to the Torah,
Oh,
for
yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And what did you do for your bar mitzvah? Was anything special? And
Nothing special. Had the bar mitzvah, and then I remember we had the party.
No. But what I mean is, when you were called to the Torah, did you do the read the
Oh, yeah, I
Haftorah,
read the
or
Haftorah,
did you
yeah.
read a portion of the Torah itself?
Yeah.
And did you do the service, the Musaf service afterwards?
I don't remember. I used to go every Friday night because my dad was a Shabbos.
Yeah.
I went for years. And I would be going more now, but I can't hear.
I understand, yeah. So your bar mitzvah was here. Kurt trained you. This is a difficult question. I'm asking everybody. How do you think that your membership in Temple Israel affected your life?
Well, I don't know. I was we were pretty religious. We kept a kosher home time, but later, Mom and Dad always did. I remember Passover time, the dishes, the new dishes, and the silverware and everything.
Your
and the
mother worked very hard with
special
that.
food, everything. It was a lot of work for my parents and stuff. And you watched that. And when I got married, I didn't carry on a kosher home, but my folks were real religious, and right up till they moved away to Washington D.C. area. My dad at their home they had services there in their temple. He was active there all the time.
Why did he move to Washington?
I have 4 sisters, all moved down that area.
Oh.
It's in Silver Springs, Maryland, and they went down there.
Do you remember when that was?
Well, my oldest sister graduated high school, Roz, in 1939, and she went in 1940.
Mm-hmm.
And who was it? Lester Katz, his sister, went. Because Lester used to go to Hebrew school too. Cy and Cy Katz and Eddie Katz were a few years older, so they were out of our league then.
Were you in the military at all?
Yeah, I went right after I got out of school in 1945. I got out of school in June, and I went in the Army in August. The Japanese heard I was going in, and they surrendered a week later.
So it was right so thankfully you didn't go into combat?
No, went with the Army of Occupation in Germany.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, I was in Bamberg, Germany, which was about 25 kilometers from Nuremberg, when they were having the Nuremberg trials.
Did you see any of it?
No, we could have went, but they said it was so boring
Huh.
that you just sat. And then I did go to, they had a little tour you can go. I went to the Flossenburg trials. They had that at Dachau concentration camp right outside of Munich. We went there the first day they had the Flossenburg concentration camp. They had.
So you saw that camp
Oh, yeah,
after the war?
Went through Dachau concentration.
What were your reactions to it? What did you see?
It was a damp day, and the odor was strong, and they took us through and showed us the ovens. And
Who took you through?
It was the Army had a tour on that stuff.
Did they take you through as a member of the Army, or did they take you through because you happen to be Jewish?
No, the Army. You had the Red Cross would take tours through stuff like that. And let's see, Nuremberg was it was right outside Nuremberg, the camp, and that stuck in my mind. You know, when there were trials, when they're talking about when everybody was innocent, you know, they proved not guilty. They had, I think, 49 of them on trial. Well, one of them stood up and says, "I'm guilty." He says, "I beat people," you know, just like this here. But he had to plead not guilty.
Not schuldig, they said. So you went through the Dachau camp, and you saw. Did you see bodies, or had they been cleared away?
Cleaned up
Already.
They had a big garden out there with flowers. Were supposed to be
mass graves.
500,000 people were buried, but you saw the ashes, you saw clothing in different rooms, the gas chambers, the ovens, and the different places where they went to barracks. They were keeping some German prisoners in the barracks, PWs, at that time. That was in I think it was 46.
What was your reaction to all that?
I was only like 20 years old.
But you're Jewish also. Did that make a difference?
It bothered me. You wonder how people could be so cruel, some of the things they did. And then I remember in Pesach, the Army had a Seder, our camp outside. We had German waiters and waitresses, and I got a kick out of that. That they had a real nice Seder, big dinner.
Did the Germans react in any way to you?
No, they were real nice, the people that waited on us and stuff. That was real nice.
Who conducted the service? An Army chaplain?
It was an Army rabbi that conducted it, because then we used to have the Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah service.
I don't remember his name by any chance, do you?
Pardon?
Do you remember his name?
No, I don't
That's
remember.
too far back.
I remember. I felt bad on Yom Kippur. The chaplain we had, the rabbi, the chaplain, he came and he drove on Yom Kippur. And that stayed in my mind. You know, we always walked. Yeah. And here was the chaplain. But anyway,
well, the service was a different place. I know, I know experience. That's interesting. Did you see any other camps while you were in Germany?
No, the only thing when I got to Germany, the shipload, 17 of us stayed back. I took typing in high school my last year, not because I could type, but we had a good-looking young teacher, and 3 of us took typing, so they put me down when I went to the Army. They put me down for 35 words a minute. I couldn't type 35 words in an hour. You know, we forced around, and they put that on my record. And I got a job. There was 17 of us held back, but the other 1,800 went into grave registration or rail spearhead. And I fell into a job in charge of the civilian labor camp at the headquarters of the 3rd Army, Repo Depot, and I was in charge of hiring and firing all the civilians for camp. So I had it made when I was there.
Must have given you some pleasure to hire and fire the Germans?
Well, I had three secretaries and 2 interpreters.
Were they cooperative with you?
Pardon?
Were they cooperative with you?
Oh, yeah.
Did they know you were Jewish?
Yeah.
Didn't make any difference?
Some of those people, like I had the one interpreter, Hans, who used to do it. I didn't have to do it. Once a month I'd sign the colonel's name to the passes, and once a month the pay cards, and he thought I was working hard. He got me a rubber stamp to stamp. But I used to go into town, and if I needed help, like I opened up a post office, I had to hire 60 people that could read and write, and that was simple. I'd go into the civilian labor office and tell them I wanted 5 people in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. I'd give them a little test, and I hired 60 of them. They gave me 2 months to do it, and I hired them, I think, in 3 weeks, because they all wanted to work in the camp because they got a meal at noontime there.
So you were really in Germany after the devastation. I mean, the devastation had really been repaired.
Right, yeah.
So you saw quite a bit of that. Was Munich destroyed at all?
They had a lot of bombs there, but I think one of the worst cities, I forget what town it was, but when I had to deliver a confidential paper to Heidelberg one time, which was maybe about 125, 150 kilometers away. And we went through one town where they would send over 1,000 bombers at a time, and the complete city was just about all level. I forget which one it was.
Do you remember whether Dachau, the camp that you saw outside of Munich, was hit by any bombs?
No, that
Not
wasn't
at all.
by a bomb, not at all. And Munich, I remember the train station was bombed, and there was bombed out buildings. I was in Bamberg, and there was buildings bombed out there, but we had a lot of displaced persons in Bamberg. I think the city was made for 60,000 people. There was about 150,000,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of displaced. And I had a number of Jewish people working in the camp for jobs. So when I found out they were Jewish.
Did they openly say they were Jewish, or you found out, or somehow? Or
My one interpreter told me, because he could talk. So I had to.
You had quite a responsible job then.
Not too bad.
What was your rank?
Just a PFC.
Is that right?
I
With all that
didn't want
responsibility?
any rank, because I wasn't going to make
A career.
I wasn't going to make it. What would you call
A
it?
career.
I wasn't going to stay in the Army
Yeah.
that long.
But you had a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, just hiring and firing, and that was easy
That's
to do.
very interesting. So I guess the answer to that, my question about the effect of the temple, that certainly would have been on your mind as you saw the camp. When you came back, did you talk to anybody in the temple about it? Did you discuss it at all here?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, did anybody know that you were part of that, just as you told me?
I imagine. Everybody, all the guys went into service at that time, and some of them were in during the fighting and stuff. But like I said, we were the conquering heroes. They lifted the fraternization ban, and
Yeah. Let me come back to the temple. Did you participate in anything? Were you an officer here at any time in the temple?
No.
Did you participate in any activities
Well,
as a member?
when we came to this temple, when we moved from Brown Street, I carried the Torah.
So you're talking about carrying the Torahs from Brown Street to the Wallace Street Temple.
Right.
And that was in December of '64, I believe. Is that correct?
So, yeah. I remember they had the police escorted us, and they had a caravan with the...
And that was in the wintertime, wasn't it, as I recall?
November, I believe, yeah, it was pretty
It was a
chilly.
difficult day.
And I remember the temple here, one division of our company, I was with Ehrlich Pest Control then. We had Gardenville Chemical was ours, and I got fertilizer. I got it and seed, grass seed. I got it at dealer price, And I used to take my boy to Hebrew school, and then I planted the grass. And
Oh, you planted the
fertilized.
grass for the temple area?
Yeah, I had to wait for him at Hebrew
Yeah.
school, so I did a lot of
So we can attribute all this greenness to you then?
Pardon?
We can attribute all this greenness to you,
Well, I
or a
think
lot of it.
a couple of years there I worked on it, but then I was...
Well, that's terrific. See, now that's something nobody would ever know.
No, well, I did that. I had to wait anyway, so I got the grass, and I got the fertilizer, and I had a spreader, and I spread all that stuff.
How much of the property did you cover? Everything, or just
Everything.
everything?
Yeah. And I remember Max Bloom, I think, was in charge of the grounds stuff then. In later years, I was at one time. But back through here, they were always getting water in on that. And what they did, they put a drain all the way around, and that solved their problem on that.
I understand that this property itself, the Wall Street property, was sort of a swampy area. Is that correct?
Yeah, it used
I
to,
was
the water
told-
running down the hill.
Coming down the hill.
Yeah.
No.
But that solved it. They used to get water in on the carpeting and coming.
Into the building, you mean?
In the building, they would get some Founder's Hall there, that was bringing the tile. But when they put the drain across, I remember Roger Dunning, who was assistant superintendent, lived up here someplace, and he come down.
Assistant superintendent of what?
Stroudsburg High School. And he come down, he was saying that, what are they gonna do with that ditch? I says, they're gonna plant fish. He says, what kind of fish? I told him gefilte fish.
Well, in the time that you've been a member of Temple Israel, you must have seen a succession of rabbis.
Oh, yeah.
Without getting too personal, is there any one rabbi or a couple of them who might stand out in your mind as being, really good?
Well, Kurt Weimer was here for, I think, numbers were 12, 14 years,
Really?
I think. I'm not sure, but he was always real good.
He could sing well. He could daven well.
Real good. And he retired. He went to college here then and became a prof.
Did they hire someone for high holidays, or did Kurt do it, or was somebody from the congregation doing the services?
I think Kurt Weimer did it. Those years they had no money to pay it.
Okay. Do you remember, of course you were in school, but if somebody had a yard site, did you have a minion?
Yeah, they would call up and they would get minions pretty good. I remember my dad always went. He would, in a snowstorm, I remember Herman Lax stopped, saw him, he's walking in a snowstorm, so somebody would have a minion going up your avenue or something.
Who was Herman Lax?
Herman Lax was a member of the temple here. Yeah, I remember Harold Jacobs used to be in that, going to Hebrew school those years too.
He was a member of your Hebrew school class?
Pardon?
Was he a member of your class?
No, he was a year older. But I remember on the Minions, there was Sam Rubin lived across the street on Brown Street. And
across from the temple?
Yeah, on Brown Street. And Litfeld lived over there, and they used to have to beg those guys to come to make that 10th man at times, you know.
Never changes, does it?
Never doesn't change. They lived right there, and there was another.
Were they willing to come, or was it kind of a pulling the teeth type?
They didn't like to be bothered that much. They weren't that religious and stuff.
Did they attend high holiday services?
No, I don't think they did. Once in a while, I think Mr. Lidfeld did. Sam Rubin.
Who was Sam Rubin?
He would talk about the Jews more than his poem did.
Incidentally, as you were growing up in East Stroudsburg, did you encounter any anti-Semitism?
Oh yeah, you did in those years.
Can you describe some of those instances?
You had different neighbors at times.
How did they react? How did they act toward you?
Well, some of them just. I remember in school, although the principal we had in high school, his name was John Cartwright. He was a great educator.
The last name was what?
Cartwright.
Cartwright.
And once in a while, I used to have fun in school, and every once in a while I'd get sent to the office. Not more than once a day, but, but he would talk to me in there and tell me that, you know, you're Jewish, you got to behave yourself because you got to set an example. He said your sisters were always real good. And he'd give me a speech, and then he'd shake my hand.
But it was nothing negative.
Nothing negative about it. He was quite an educator.
Would you say that the whatever anti-Semitism you encountered was from from your peers or from elders?
Some of the peers, but the gang I ran around with after I was 13, 14, you never heard any of that.
Did you ever have any fights?
There was people being in the. Oh yeah, you'd have fights, but. Outside, you go out in the west end of Monroe County. I was on a soda truck then, and they didn't want to buy from a Jew, you know,
really?
Stuff like that.
Did they openly say that?
No, I had one in Bartonville openly said it. He says, we're going to buy from our kind, stuff like this. And, you know, in later years, they apologized.
They did. I mean, really, if they came to you or you saw them and...
I never forgot it. You don't forget that stuff, you know.
What was their reaction when they apologized? What was your reaction?
I just look at it and tell them, I'm not selling religion, I'm selling sodas, you know.
Very good.
I told them I don't want to sell you anyway.
So tell us about the football games at the temple.
Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, we were kids. There used to be a lawn right next to Brown Street on the temple. It was on a slant, and we used to play football. Stroudsburg against East Stroudsburg. Lester Brown had a bad heart, so he used to be our referee. And there used to be Marsh Wilkins and
Jimmy, you're saying Marsh. You're referring to Morris Wilkins? Is that the same person?
Marsh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We always call him Bush.
Okay.
But anyway, we used to have a football game there, and we'd start making a little noise, and pretty soon Dave Birnbaum, Jack Birnbaum's dad, or Ted Getz, they were president of the temple those years, and they'd come out and make us shut up and get back up into the temple. We'd have to sit on the first couple rows in shul over there. But we used to.
Did you get dressed up in a suit and tie when you went to the temple?
We were dressed up, but you know how kids are. The shirt tails would be out, the tie.
But you were playing football with that clothing.
Yeah, it was usually tag football too, but it'd get pretty noisy at times.
and bother people inside.
And they would come out and make us come inside.
Who were some of the people who played with you?
I see there was Elliot, Davy, and Morris Wilkins, the three brothers, Harold Jacobs, Lester Brown, Itch Summers, Jerry Sperling, and Seymour Sperling. I'm trying to think who else. I'm trying to think of how many other guys there was. Yeah.
That's okay. One other thing I wanted to ask you, Bernie, because we were also talking about this after we shut down, and going back to your experience in Germany, because I think that's very interesting. You told us that you had to deliver a paper one time to Heidelberg from where you were, that your Jeep broke down, and you were being towed back, had to stay someplace overnight, and what was the outcome of that, where you were staying?
Well, what happened is, as we were approaching, we were being towed into Heidelberg, or into Nuremberg, by an army truck that come by that got us off the Autobahn, and as we approached Heidelberg, they had Heidelberg ring by roadblocks set up, that they just checked every traffic going in and out of Heidelberg, especially coming in by the MPs. And 3 times we got stopped, but we checked in the hotel and called our base in Bamberg, and they told us to stay overnight. They'll send a record after us. And the next morning, we realized we were staying at our Army hotel right in Bamberg, or not Bamberg, in Nuremberg, and they were hanging the war criminals. If I would have woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and looked out a window, I could have looked down at the courtyard. And
so you were that close.
We were
that close.
Right next to it. And
That's
Goring took a cyanide pill, committed suicide the night before. So
were there any demonstrations in the area, in Nuremberg or wherever, by the Germans? Did they react in any way openly? Did you recall?
No, the people at that time were defeated.
The army was pretty much in control of it?
Everything was in control. They all claimed that they didn't know anything about concentration camps or anything.
Did you ever see
Then you said, why didn't you fight Hitler? They said, well, he would have put us in a concentration camp. I said, well, I thought you didn't know about it. Yeah. This was a story.
Did you ever see civilians being taken through the camp?
No, it was all over them. They were using the camp. Dachau concentration camp was used as putting German prisoners were in there. They were in the same thing. It was quite a camp with your barracks and stuff.
Okay, Bernie, we'll conclude with that. I didn't want to leave that one because the football game sounded very interesting, and this last experience was also important.
We used to catch it from that. And there was an apple tree back there, too, on Yom Kippur.
You were eating apples?
We would sneak some apples out.
How old were you? Oh, you weren't bar mitzvah yet?
No, we weren't.
So it wouldn't make any difference.
9, 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
But we used to have to fast till noon those years anyway.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Even as a pre-bar mitzvah?
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting.
And I remember bar mitzvah, I remember the one, Lester Brown's one boy, I was bringing him home from shul, and he got sick, he tried too much, and I had a mess to clean up in my car.
Matt, Lester's son,
I don't know
Matt?
if it was Matt or which one, Lester Brown.
Well, he had two boy and the girl.
Yeah.
Stephanie was the daughter.
Yeah, the boy Matt.
He got sick on apples?
No, he just, this was later years. This was, I think it was from the temple over here that he got sick. But he was trying to fast all day.
He would have grown up in this temple.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have known Brown Street, but I'll find out.
He tried to fast all day and couldn't quite make it.
Well, Bernie, thank you very much. We appreciate your participation, and we hope this will be a long-lasting history, and somebody will hear it, hopefully, and learn something about Temple Israel. And I thank you very much.
Right. Glad to help.